I'm gonna wait a couple minutes until someone pops on. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. Before I do start on this live, I do want to warn you guys, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in my area, so if my live gets a bit wonky, it's the storms in the area, and I do apologize for that. I have no idea what's going on with my hair. Hello everyone. So this is part 2 to the shamanism. We're gonna try to get through as much as we can. As I explained in the last live, there are 46 pages, so I'm gonna try to get as much done as I can, but if by 9:10 we are still not done, I will have to break it up into the third part, and the third part will not come until July. So just please keep that in mind, but I am going to try to get as much done as I can, I promise. Hello Haley, hello Erica. Alright loves, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I apologize that it's such a late live. I wanted to try to get part 2 done as quickly as I could, so let's jump back into it. So in the last one we left off on, we were talking about the shamanic practice, that if you were feeling emotionally or physically unwell, you could try a simple healing ritual by lighting a candle, burning cleansing herbs, or even setting an intention for healing. Real quick, before, I know I said I was going to jump right in, and I'm so sorry. Let me get my questions pulled back up. Okay. Get this fixed to where it needs to be. There we go. All right, lovely ladies. So let's get back into it now. So we're going to pick up again right where we left off. So going into the divination part of shamanism now. So this is where you're seeking wisdom from the spirit world, as we all know, and things like that. But shamans actually serve as oracles, receiving messages from the spirits to provide insight into the past, present, or even the future. Divination is often used, as we all know, for guidance, problem solving, and decision making. Traditional shamanic divination methods included bone castings and shell readings, reading animal tracks and even omens, dream interpretation. In many traditions, this is where they would be considered portals to the divine, and receiving messages from your ancestors, spirits, or even past lives as well. Then they have smoke and fire divination, water scrying, and that's just to name a few. Shamanic practice that you could do with these types of divination is before bed, ask your spirit guides for wisdom through dreams in the morning, and then write down any symbols or feelings that you may receive, like a hidden message or something like that, you know? Yeah, like seashell readings. They could do like, I don't want to say it's like nutshells, but sometimes they will use those. There's one that I did not list on here, and I'm so mad at myself that I did not list it. But they'll even do cacao bean readings. But that is really different. Oh man, I am so sorry, love. I wasn't thinking about the different time zones when I scheduled this. It completely slipped my mind. I sincerely apologize. Also, I went ahead and turned on my light because, yeah, it's getting dark out. So I am so sorry. But let's look at the initiation rituals. So these are known as the birth of a shaman. Becoming a shaman is not a simple choice. It is often seen as a calling from the spirits, requiring a powerful initiation that tests a person's strength, endurance, and wisdom. The stages of the shamanic initiation is a spiritual awakening. Many shamans experience a near-death experience, severe illness, or even a mythical vision that marks the beginning of their journeys. Then you have the dark night of the soul. This is where the initiation faces a lot of the deep fears, sufferings, and trials to prove their readiness to walk the shamanic path. Then you have isolation in nature. This part of the initiation is where some traditions require the initiates, the people that are going to do the shamanic trials, if you will, to spend weeks alone in the wilderness, fasting and seeking visions. Then you have the sacred teachings and trainings, where you are learning how to journey, heal, and communicate with spirits from elders or spirit guides. And then lastly, you have the death and rebirth ritual. Some shamans undergo symbolic death through burial rituals, deep trance states, or even symbolic skin shedding ceremonies. If you are feeling called to the shamanic path, consider undergoing a personal initiation by spending time alone in nature, meditating, and listening for guidance from the spirit world if you do not have a community around you to do so. Then we have the communication with nature. This is honoring the earth and the spirits. So many shamanic rituals focus on maintaining balance of the natural world, acknowledging that everything in existence is alive and interconnected. This, again, ties into the animism. Nature-based rituals in shamanism are basically a lot of earth offerings, leaving gifts such as tobacco, corn, flowers, or crystals to show gratitude to the land. Fire ceremonies, writing intentions on paper and burning them as an offering to the spirits. Water blessings, where you are pouring sacred water onto the earth to cleanse and nourish the land. Animal spirit connections, calling upon animal guides for wisdom and protection. And then moon and sun ceremonies. Many shamans hold full moon and solstice rituals to align with the cosmic cycles as well. A shamanic practice that you could do is try leaving an offering of flowers or food in a natural place with a simple thank you prayer to Mother Earth, or as I call her, Gaia. If you do not work with Gaia as Mother Earth, then you can simply just thank nature for taking care of you. Because I know a lot of people do not work with Gaia as a entity, but they do, however, worship nature. Oh, I'm so sorry, love. I know a couple of people that are the same way, where they can go out during the day, but if it's night, they won't step foot. And honestly, I don't blame anyone, because there's a lot of folklore and mythical creatures that I believe in, and I'm like, nope, I know what you mean. We're on the same wavelength, I promise. I know what you're talking about. So let's talk about the death and transition rituals in shamanism. So shamans play a crucial role in helping souls cross over to the afterlife, ensuring that they do not become trapped in the middle world. I don't want to say this, so please take this with a grain of salt, but how this part of shamanism kind of clicked for me was almost, think of them like a death doula in a way. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I am not 100% familiar with a death doula or what they do, So again, take that part with a grain of salt. But I do know, if I'm not mistaken, that death doulas do help spirits cross over as well. So you can kind of think of them as a death doula in some traditions of shamanism as well. Sacred death rituals that are typically done is the soul guidance ceremony. Shamans journey to the spirit world to escort the soul safely into the afterlife. Basically, they make sure that they get there. Then you have the smoke cleansing for the departed. This is where sacred herbs are burned to clear negative energies and to help spirits find peace, especially if they passed in, I wouldn't say passed in a bad way, but passed as in they had a lot of unfinished business, however. Or they passed away suddenly and, you know, they weren't quite ready to go. Like a young person. I hope you guys are catching my drift. That's why I said, I'm dual on that. When it comes to Mother Earth and Gaia, I consider her both. So, yeah. Next, you have the chanting and singing to the dead. These are special songs that are sung to honor the ancestors and call upon them for wisdom to help guide the soul. Then you have burial rites and earth offerings. Some traditionally bury the dead with sacred herbs, stones, or even personal objects to ensure a smooth journey. Question time, because I'm still going to pick your guys' brain. Don't think I didn't forget. Alright, beautifuls. So, have you ever journeyed and met an ancestor or a spirit guide? This could be during a meditation, during a dream, but I also want to know what it was like for you. I know, I'm so weird in asking all these personal questions and making you guys come out of your comfort zone. But I want to know. I want to get into the nitty-gritty, okay? I'm glad you get what I'm saying, though, because I was so worried. And I didn't want to, like, basically say a horrific accident or something. Oh, yes. It is a beautiful process. So, the question was, have you ever journeyed and met an ancestor or a spirit guide? This could be during a meditation or even during a dream. But I also want to know, what was it like to do so? What did you hear? What did you feel? Were there any smells? I remember when I first had my first ancestor dream. It was so very weird. I was a very fresh witch, if you will. I had just started taking my practice very, very seriously. It was within like the first year and a half of my practice. I remember this dream, and even though I speak it, I still get really jittery just talking about it. But I had a dream, and I was walking through like this forest, if you will. And I came across this humongous tree. And this tree had a hole in the middle. You saw owls on a branch. You saw the little caterpillars and bugs that you would typically see crawling on a tree. Everything was normal at first. I thought, okay, it's just a normal dream. But then somebody popped up, and I had never met this person in my life, and I'm like, what the hell, who are you? And he told me his name. His name was Apolinar. I know this name very, very well. It's my little brother's name. But it was not my little brother. This man was explaining to me my great-grandmother and what she looked like. He was explaining to me what my grandmother and who she was. And that's where it started getting freaky, because I'm like, I don't know you. You're going under a name that I know very well, but I've never met you in my life. I don't know who you are. And it turned out, because I woke up in a cold sweat. And I had explained to my mom that it was a very Hispanic man. He had a mustache. He was dressed to the nines as if he was going to church. He had very calloused hands. And my mom looks at me and she's pale in the damn face. Like, I mean really pale. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, my dream, this is what I'm talking about. And she goes, Mija, that's your great-grandfather. You just described him. And I was like, no, there's no way. Great-grandpa, I've never met him. And she's like, you just did. So, needless to say, it freaked us both out. But this, you could smell, and this is where I was going with this. I could smell the earth. I could smell the tree, like the inside of a tree after it freshly rains. I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys know what smell I'm talking about. But I didn't mean to get off track, but that's what that's my experience with it. Again, I'm sorry for getting off track, ladies. But answer that question if you can. Moving on, however, because I definitely want to get done as much as I can. But a shamanic practice for this one is light a candle and speak the name of an ancestor or loved one who has passed. Send them blessings and gratitude to help their spirit rest in peace. If you, as I always say, I consider my past loved ones a part of my ancestors. Because if you really think about it, once you're gone too, and your family is only there to remember you, you become an ancestor yourself. Whether you think that you don't, you do. Because it could be, 300 years down the line, and they're still talking about their ancestors, which are people who have passed before us. So that is why I choose to mix my ancestors with people who have passed in this life. I know some people don't consider it that way, but that is why I do. I know it probably sounds dumb, but all right, loves. Sorry. So, final thoughts on the power of shamanic rituals. Shamanic rituals are very powerful gateways for healing, transformation, and divine connection. Whether you're performing a healing ceremony, divination, or an offering to nature, these practices help us walk in harmony with the seen and unseen worlds. The shamanic journey, which is a bridge between worlds, is a very powerful spiritual practice that allows shamans to travel beyond the physical realm and enter the spirit world. In this altered state of consciousness, they connect with spirit guides, ancestors, and higher wisdom to receive the guidance, healing, and insight. This journey is not a simple meditation. It is an ancient spiritual technology, if you will, practiced by shamans for thousands of years across very diverse cultures. So let's deep dive into the purpose, techniques, and experiences. So you've heard me throw this word around for a good long while. So what is the shamanic journey? The shamanic journey refers to a soul travel experience where the shaman shifts their awareness from the physical world to the non-ordinary reality of the spirit realms. The key characteristics of the shamanic journey is an altered state of consciousness where shamans enter a deep trance state, allowing them to detach from the physical body and travel spiritually. It could be the same as like astral travel, if you will, but it's kind of where you are still awake in a sense. Like, you know what's going on around you, but you're not here. I hope that makes sense. How I like to do astral travel and even journeying, if you will, is I think of a cord. This cord could be a rope, it could be just a string, but I always think of something that can connect me back to my physical body. And the reason why is because my mom used to astral travel a lot. And she would tell me when she was a teenager, at one point in time, she almost lost herself. And the thing about lucid dreaming, or not lucid dreaming, astral traveling, or even shamanic journeys, are the dangers out there as well. This is where things can lead to possessions. It can lead to a lot of things, really, but possessions are the biggest ones. So it is really, really best that you know what you're doing when it comes to journeying outside of your own body, because there's a couple of things that could go wrong, and that has been instilled in me since I was a kid. Like, my mom was always she did witchy things, but was never considered a witch, if you will. I'm pretty sure we've all had family members like that. But yeah, she was one of those. She knew about spiritual things, and she did spiritual things, but never really claimed the path, if you will. You also have the interaction with spirit beings, and this is why I said you must be careful, because not all spirit beings that you come across are going to be the safe ones. But during the journey, the shaman mainly communicates with spirit guides, ancestors, animal totems, and deities. Traveling between the worlds, the shaman moves through different spiritual dimensions to seek knowledge, healing, or even lost soul fragments. So, the next time you meditate, imagine yourself walking through a mystical portal, and that can even be considered the beginning of your shamanic journey. But again, be very careful. That is the utmost thing that, again, has been instilled in me since I was a kid. Just be careful. That's all I ever want to say, especially becoming a mom. It's like, be careful. Exactly. Not all ancestors or even spirit beings are your friends. That was very well put. Alright. So what is the purpose of the shamanic journey? Well, shamans embark on journeys for many sacred reasons, often in service to their community or even their own personal growth. The common reasons for journeying is just seeking wisdom and guidance, where the shamans will ask spirits for insight into life problems, relationships, and the future. Healing and physical ailments. The journey can reveal the spiritual cause of the illness and guide the shaman to the healing solutions. Soul retrieval is when a person experiences trauma, parts of their soul can become lost. The shamans retrieve these pieces to restore the person's wholeness. Connecting with the ancestors, shamans communicate with ancestors and past lives for wisdom and blessings. And of course, protecting the community. Some shamans journey to fight off negative spirits or to even remove curses affecting their people. Shamanic practices that you can do is even set an intention before meditating, like what wisdom or healing are you seeking, and clarify the purpose strengthens the journey as well. So what is it to enter a shamanic trance? Well, the shamanic trance is achieved through specific techniques that shift brainwaves to a deep theta state, allowing the shaman's soul to journey beyond the ordinary reality that we know. Methods for entering a trance state is rhythmic drumming. This is drumming at 4 to 7 beats per second and mimics the earth's heartbeat, altering consciousness and opening the spirit world. Shamanic dancing and body movement, spinning, shaking, or dancing shifts awareness and builds spiritual energy. Sensory overload. This is repetitive chanting, breath work, or even fasting enhances spiritual sensitivity. And of course, plant medicine and sacred herbs. Some traditions use the ayahuasca, the peyote, or mushrooms to induce visions. This is only under experienced guidance. So please don't go do those unless you have someone that knows what they're doing with you. My favorite one to do, however, is rhythmic drumming or even the dancing, or this one, as we just talked about, is lucid dreaming and sleep trance. This is where shamans can journey through dreams, receiving messages while unconscious. A shamanic practice, again, this is not homework, ladies, I'm just giving you ideas. Listen to a drumming track that is 4 to 7 beats per second and close your eyes. Allow the rhythm to guide you into a meditative journey. Speaking of which, did any of you actually go and listen to a shaman drum track? I'm very curious. Did it help with your meditations? Did it not? I want to hear what you guys think. If you did it. Alright, I am not seeing any questions. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I love questions. Alright, I'm going to jump back into notes. So, we did touch on the 3 worlds of the... Well, we touched on the 4 worlds, I should say. But what are the main worlds of the shamanic journey? Well, there are 3. Shamans travel through their 3 main spiritual realms, each with unique energies and beings. Again, this is your upper world, which is the celestial realm. This is home of ascended spirits, deities, angels, and cosmic wisdom. This place, again, often appears as bright, ethereal, and filled with divine light. And shamans seek spiritual alignment, guidance from gods, and cosmic visions here. Spirit guides, divine beings, celestial ancestors, and guardian angels are here as well. A shaman may climb the cosmic tree, if you will, or ride a bird to enter the upper world and seek advice from a celestial teacher. You have the middle world, which is our world. This is the earthly realm. This is a world we live in, but also a spiritual version of it. This is home to nature spirits, the fae, and animal totems. This is used for finding lost objects, remote viewing, or even communicating with plant spirits. Spirit guides are your trees, rivers, animals. Spirit guides are also disguised as humans in some ways. A shaman may enter the middle world to speak to the spirit of a tree and ask for wisdom and healing. And then you have the lower world, which is the subterranean realm. This is not a place of evil, but this is a realm of deep wisdom, ancestors, and primal energy. So in a way, you can find ancestors in each realm. These often appear as your caves, forests, or even underground rivers. And shamans visit the lower world to retrieve those lost soul fragments, to find power animals, or to even heal deep wounds. Spirit guides here are your ancestors, your animal totems, reptilian or even bird-like beings. A shaman may descend into a cave to find their power animal, which offers them then guidance and protection. In meditation, you can visualize a tree with roots reaching down and branches stretching up, and this will be your portal to the three worlds. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So, what happens when you were returning the journey and integration? Well, a successful journey, like everything else that we do, must be properly closed. Or the traveler risks of feeling disconnected or even ungrounded or worse. Steps for a safe return home is thanking the spirits before leaving and expressing gratitude to any spirit guides, ancestors, or totems who have assisted you. Find your way back. This is why I say, if you do this, imagine a cord or something like with you, and you can use it to follow yourself back, or you can visualize walking back through the portal, or climbing down the tree, or stepping through a mist, whatever helps you. After that, you would want to ground yourself. This is where you eat food, touch the earth with your bare feet, or even do a deep breathing to return fully to your body. Of course, reflect and record. This is where you will write down your visions, messages, or lessons received from the journey. It is best to keep a shamanic journal to record all symbols, feelings, and messages from your journeys. And you may even uncover deep patterns over time. The shamanic journey is a sacred practice that allows us to explore hidden realms, communicate with spirit beings, and heal on those deep levels. By learning to navigate these dimensions, we develop a greater intuition, wisdom, and spiritual strength. And then we also have the shamanic plants and ethogens, which are the sacred gateways to the spirit world. So for thousands of years, shamans across the world have worked with sacred plants, often called ethogens, or these are used to induce the altered state of consciousness, connect with the spirit world, and heal deep-seated traumas. These powerful plants hold spiritual intelligence and are revered as teachers, healers, and guides in shamanic traditions. Let's explore the role of these sacred plants, the psychedelic experience they can induce, and the ethics of their use. I'm going to say this now. Trigger warning. Please. Ladies, I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm about to say. Be careful. Don't do dumb stuff. And the reason why I say that is because these can be very dangerous. Any plant really can be very dangerous if used incorrectly. And that is the motto I have always gone by. So please, please, please be careful. I am not a medical professional. I'm just telling you guys for educational purposes. So please, please be careful. So the term ethogen, we'll start there, comes from the Greek and means that generating the divine within. These are psychoactive plants, fungi, and cacti, used in shamanic and spiritual practices to alter consciousness, facilitate deep healing, receive visions and guidance, communicate with the ancestors and spirits, and expand awareness of the universe. How ethogens differ, unlike recreational substances, and this is why I said what I said, ethogens are ritually and with deep respect. Shamans emphasize that these plants are sacred tools, they are not used for entertainment, and used with ceremonial intention and preparation, taken under the guidance of only experienced shamans. Sacred plants in shamanic traditions, different cultures of course have their own sacred plants, with each with its own spiritual properties. So you have the ayahuasca. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's Ayahuasca. It is also known as the vine of the soul. Its origins are the Amazonian tribes of Peru, Brazil, and Ecuador. And the ingredients are a blend of the Banasterio. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher it, and I don't want to. Banastereopsis caapi, which is the vine, and a Psychrocheria verdis, which is the DMT containing leaves. The effects of this are deep visions, emotional release, communication with spirits, healing traumas. The uses of it, however, are for healing illnesses, shadow work, soul retrieval, and spiritual awakening. A ritual is guided by a shaman, and often accompanied by chanting and purging. Those who drink the ayahuasca often report profound revelations, emotional catharsis, CATHARSIS, and encounters with divine beings or the ancestral spirits. Then you have peyote, and San Pedro, which is the cactus of wisdom. These are your indigenous cultures of Mexico and Andine regions. The active compound is mescaline, mescaline. The effects of this are heightened perception, deep introspection, connection with nature, and cosmic awareness. The uses are mainly used for your vision quests, your emotional healing, and communication with the Great Spirit. The ritual that often takes place is the Native American Church and Huichol, Huichol. Tribes use this for all-night ceremonies with prayer, chanting, and fire rituals. Many describe the peyote and San Pedro as a gentle yet powerful guide, opening the heart to the spiritual truths. Then you have the the psilocybin mushrooms, which are called the flesh of the gods. This is where my family's history comes into play, as I've been told my entire life that we've been connected to the Aztecs and Mayans. So this is where this comes into play. And I cannot wait to get one of those, 23andMe's, because I would love to know more about it. But again, these were used by the Aztecs, Mayans, and even the Siberian shamans. The active compound, of course, is the mushroom. The effects are vivid visual journeys, euphoria, deep emotional insights, and ego dissolutions. Uses are connecting with spirit guides, emotional healing, past life regressions. And the ritual is where shamans prepared a sacred space, often combining the mushrooms with chanting, drumming, and even fasting. The experience of these, the three, mainly the mushrooms. Many report feeling one with nature, time slowing down, and receiving messages from the higher consciousness. Then you have the mapacho, which is the sacred tobacco, and also known as the shaman's protector. These originate in your Amazonian tribes. The effects are grounding, clearing negative energy, increasing focus and spiritual protection. The uses of this is shamans blow the tobacco smoke over their people to purify their energy field. Unlike commercial tobacco, mapacho is never inhaled recreationally and is only considered a powerful spirit healer. The experience with this one is it is used to speak with spirits, often prayers, and shield from dark energies. Then you have the psychedelic experiences and their purpose of such. The entheogens alter perception and consciousness, creating a profound spiritual and healing experience. These states can include visionary journeys, communication with spirits, emotional purging, mystical insights, and ego dissolution. These journeys can be beautiful, but also very challenging, and true healing requires integration, bringing insights into daily life. However, do not do it without a very experienced shaman. The ethics of using the sacred plant medicines. This is where I was also going with this. Not everyone should use ethogens, and their use requires very serious responsibility. Many indigenous cultures have a strict ethical guideline for this reason. So the ethical principles of the plant medicine, again, you can do shamanism without it. You do not need these, but I wanted to include them because a lot, and I do mean a lot, of shamans across the world use these, and they are very traditional. Oh, I think I missed something. Did I freeze? I really hope I did not freeze. Okay. Just making sure I did not freeze. Okay. So, the ethical principles of the plant medicine is right intention. These plants should be approached with respect and not for thrill seeking. Proper guidance. Again, traditional shamans spend many years, even decades, training to administer these medicines safely. Preparation and purification. Many shamans require fasting, dieta, which are dietary restrictions, and meditation before you can even do these ceremonies. And then the integration, which is the true power of these experiences, comes from applying the lessons learned. Modern use and cultural respect for these. With the rise of interest in psychedelic healings, it is very important to honor the indigenous wisdom and avoid people getting mad at you, essentially. You can avoid unethical retreats. This is where some modern shamans exploit the plant medicines without proper lineage, and this is where you got to really be careful. And again, ladies, please. There are a lot of legal and safety considerations when it comes to these plant medicines that I did, and this is why I said modern use and cultural respect, because some of these plants are very illegal in certain countries. So always research. Final thoughts on walking the sacred path. Sacred plant medicines are powerful allies for healing, transformation, and even spiritual evolution. However, they should always be approached with respect, preparation, and guidance. What are the role of animal spirits in shamanism? So in shamanic traditions, as I continue to say throughout this entire thing, shamanic traditions are very worldwide animal spirits that play a crucial role as guides, protectors, and teachers. These spirit animals or totem animals offer wisdom, power, healing, helping shamans navigate the spiritual and physical worlds. So let's deep dive into some of the meanings of these animal spirits, their roles in shamanic journeys, and how they influence human lives. So what are animal spirits? Animal spirits are believed to be spiritual allies that take the form of animals to guide, protect, and teach shamans and seekers. These spirits may appear in dreams, visions, meditations, or even shamanic journeying, offering the wisdom and support. They embody qualities like courage, intuition, strength, and wisdom. They assist in healing by lending their energy to a person, or they can even act as messengers between the humans and the spirit world. Every person has an animal spirit guide, even if they are unaware of it. Recognizing and connecting with these spirits can even help bring balance and insight back to your life. Animal totems are spirit guides with very unique powers. An animal totem is an animal spirit that represents a person, family, or even a community. It carries unique energies and serves as a lifelong guardian, and different cultures have their own interpretations, but common totem animals are the eagle, which is vision, higher perspective, and divine wisdom; the wolf, loyalty, instinct, and freedom; the owl, intuition, mystery, and connection to the unseen; the snake, transformation, healing, rebirth; the bear, strength, protection, and grounding; the fox, cunning, adaptability, and intelligence; or even the dolphin, which is playfulness, harmony, and communication. Totems in different cultures, such as the Native Americans, honor spirit animals through totems, dancing, and rituals. In the Siberian shamans, they believe that animals choose the person, not the other way around. In Mongolian shamanism, totem animals are ancestral spirits who offer wisdom and protection. Discovering your totem animal is, you can discover it a couple ways. There's meditation, dreams, or a shamanic journey to reveal your personal animal guide. So what are the roles of these allies in a shaman's life? Animal allies are temporarily or lifelong spirit companions that appear when needed. Unlike totem animals, which are constant, animal allies can change throughout life, depending on the person's journey. They can offer protection against spiritual attacks or even negative energy. They can guide the shamans back in the spirit world, acting as navigators. Or they can even lend their strengths. For example, a tiger spirit could grant you courage, while an owl spirit enhances your intuition. How to recognize your animal ally? If it appears in dreams or meditations very often, feeling an unexplained connection to a specific animal, or even noticing repeated real-life encounters with said animal. Your animal ally may change over time as you grow spiritually, so keep that in mind. The shamanic animal journey, however, is entering the spirit world in animal form. This is where it gets really interesting about the shaman, the shaman way of this. Just jumping back to comments. Yeah, that is why I said, because there are a lot of fake shamans out there. I am learning through a lot of books. And so far I've reached out to a couple of tribes to teach me, but I'm waiting on their responses. But yeah, these retreats with the fake shamans, that is why I say you really, really got to be careful. Erica says, even being indigenous, you can't do certain things without the correct standing within the tribe, like part of the ceremony or the shaman line. Yeah, you can't do a lot of things, which is again why I say, if you are learning this path, just be respectful. Which again, I have the books that I am reading and learning from in my notes. I'll go over them briefly at the end of this series. If we make it to the end of the live, I'll go over them. But yeah, that is why I said, and I will continue to say, if you start learning shamanism, do it in the most respectful way that you can. So, again, entering the animal journey, entering the spirit world in animal form. Shamans often take the form of animals to travel alongside them in the spirit world. This ability is called shape-shifting and is a sacred technique to deepen a connection with nature and the unseen world. Techniques for shamanic animal journeys, again, is drumming and dancing. Shamans will drum or dance to enter a trance state where they can transform into an animal. Meditation and visualization, whereas deep focus allows a human to mentally journey as an animal, or even dream walking, where shamans receive messages or merge with animals in their dreams. A shaman seeking strength may enter the journey as a bear in the spirit world, absorbing its power and bringing it back to reality. Animal spirits and healing and protection. So shamans call upon animal spirits for healing and spiritual defense a lot. When I say a lot, I do mean a lot. Like a lot. So animal spirits and healing, they can actually help with soul retrievals. The animal guides help bring back lost soul fragments after trauma. Energy cleansing. Certain animals, spirits clear negative energies from a person's aura, or even physical healing, like a shaman might channel the healing energy of a snake to aid in recovery. They are used in protection. Guardians of the soul. These are your animal spirits that act as spiritual bodyguards in times of danger. Defense against dark entities. These shamans, excuse me. These shamans may summon a wolf spirit to ward off negative energies, or even creating boundaries. Animal allies may strengthen personal energy shields as well. Example of this is a person experiencing nightmares may call upon a jaguar spirit to guard them while they sleep. How to connect with your animal spirit guide. This is something that you do not need an experienced shaman for. But to build a relationship with animal spirits, here's how you can go about it. Step 1, set your intention. Think about why you want to connect with this animal spirit. Is it for guidance? Is it for protection? Or is it for healing? Step 2 is where you meditate and observe. Sit quietly and focus on your breath and visualize a sacred forest or an open plain or whatever may you. It could be the desert. It could be really anywhere that the animal resides. You can ask what animal wishes to guide me and wait for an image or even a feeling. And step 3, pay attention to signs. Do certain animals appear frequently in your dreams or daily life? Do you feel drawn to this specific animals? And things like that. Step 4 is embody the spirit. To honor your animal guide, learn about its habits, strengths, and symbolism. If you're a guide as an eagle, spend time in nature, gaze at the sky, and practice seeing things from a higher perspective. Walking the path of the animal spirit is basically a bridge to gap between the physical and spiritual realms, offering wisdom, strength, and healing. Whether totem animals, temporary allies, or shamanic journeying guides, they remind us of our deep connection to the natural world. Now, here's where I really want to get into shamanism and modern spirituality. And here's why. Shamanism is, again, one of the oldest spiritual practices and it's experiencing a powerful revival in the modern world. As people seek deeper meaning, healing, and connection with nature, many are turning to a lot of shamanic traditions for guidance. However, with this resurgence comes the challenge of respecting a lot of indigenous cultures and navigating these ethical concerns. So, let's explore how shamanism has evolved its integration to the contemporary life and debates on surrounding a couple of things. We won't get too deep into it because I really don't want to start an argument in the comments. So we may skip that part altogether and you can read it in my notes. But this is a very real problem that is popping up with this path. So the revival of shamanism. In the last few decades, shamanism has re-emerged with the New Age movement. This is your holistic healing communities and alternative spiritual circles, if you will. So why the renewed interest? Well, there is a growing disconnection from nature in the modern society, and raising awareness of the energy healing and ancient wisdom that shamanism can bring. It is also a desire to direct spiritual experiences rather than an organized religion as well. And of course, the influence of psychedelic research and linking plant medicine to deeper consciousness, which is why I said if you are doing anything like that, go to a very experienced shaman. Like, do your research. But shamanism today, unlike ancient tribal traditions, modern shamanic practitioners may not belong to a specific indigenous group, but instead adapt these shamanic methods to fit their personal or spiritual needs. So how shamanism integrated into the modern life? Many people today incorporate shamanic practices into daily life, even without formal training or tribal affiliation. Shamanic practices in everyday life are the shamanic journeying, energy healing and soul retrieval, nature-based spirituality, ceremonial plant medicine, and ritual and intention settings. Modern shamans versus traditional shamans. The traditional shaman belong to specific indigenous tribes and go through very intensive initiations, while modern shamanism often learn through, like me, I'm sorry, modern shamans often learn through books, workshops, or even online courses rather than cultural lineage, which is why I reached out to some tribes around me. That way I could step away from the books and actually get experience. Some Western healers also mix in shamanic traditions with psychology. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. This would be your Reiki or even your yoga. So, I have to ask you guys, does this adaptation dilute the tradition or expand its wisdom? And the reason why I ask this is because this is where the conversation around cultural appropriation begins. And this is why I said we may dig into this topic, but we also may not, due to the fact of I know some people can get very passionate and I don't want any arguments on my life. So we may dig into it a little bit. So, here's where the ethical dilemma begins with shamanism. As shamanic practices become more mainstream, there is a very real debate ongoing right now about whether non-indigenous people should practice shamanism. This is also why I went over all of the very different shamanic practices and why I went over so many different religions as well, and so many very different, again, the very different practices of different shamans. But here in the States, however, it is being very talked about whether or not non-indigenous people should practice shamanism. Again, there's the ethical dilemma of cultural appropriation, spiritual consumerism, and even the lack of proper training. So this is why I don't think I'm going to get too bad into this. You can, however, read it in my notes because I did include it just in case. But here are some ways to practice shamanism respectfully. You can acknowledge and give credit. You can learn about the indigenous origins and honor their traditions. Avoid profiting off of the sacred knowledge just in case, especially if you are not well experienced. Support indigenous communities, and even build a personal connection. So instead of imitating a tradition, you can develop your own relationship with nature, spirits, and ancestors, and just kind of build off of there. Again, we're not going to get too bad into this, but this is a very important note. Many indigenous elders will welcome respectful seekers, and this is why I reached out to a lot of indigenous tribes in my area. While others warn against misusing their traditions, the key to learning when it comes to this path is deep respect, humility, and learning from an authentic source, which I did look up all of my books when I did that, when I started going into this. Some final thoughts on a balanced approach to the modern shamanism. Shamanism is a living, evolving practice that has, again, adapted from a variety of cultures, a variety of centuries. And its today's revival brings both opportunities and responsibilities. While it's natural to seek connection with ancient wisdom, it is also equally important to honor the cultures that have safeguarded these traditions for millennia. That's another reason why I said I didn't want to get too bad into this. Does anyone have any questions before I ask my question? Yes, respect in every single path is necessary in my opinion. If no one has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and ask my question. Have you ever, well, let me rephrase that. Has an animal spirit ever appeared in your life persistently, and what did it teach you? Again, has an animal spirit ever appeared in your life persistently, and what did it teach you? As you guys are typing, I'm going to go into what I like to call spicy psychology. So, shamanism and psychology play a huge hand in hand. And this is because shamanism and psychology are they share a very profound connection. As both explore human consciousness, healing, and transformation, modern psychology has begun to study, validate, and integrate shamanic techniques as powerful tools for the mental and emotional well-being, which I thought was really neat. Especially when I started researching all this, I did not, it completely blew my mind how much shamanism and psychology go hand in hand, and how many therapists and things like that actually use shamanic techniques. So let's dive into how shamanic practices align with psychology, particularly in the altered state of consciousness, trauma healing, and transpersonal psychology. So shamanic states of consciousness, these are, again, where the shaman's altered state of consciousness to communicate with spirits, receive visions, and heal. And psychology studies these states as altered modes of perception, which can unlock the deeper parts of the mind. These are your drumming and rhythms, your breath work, your dancing and movement, and even your plant medicines. There are some theories on the altered state of consciousness that I'm going to let you guys read for yourself. But I still want to know. Because there is the flow state, there is the hypnosis, and even the lucid dreaming and meditation. But I'll let you guys read it. Psychological benefit of shamanism is modern research actually shows that the altered state of consciousness can enhance creativity, problem solving, emotional regulation, and even deep healing. Healing trauma with shamanic practices. Shamans have long believed that trauma fragments the soul, which leads to the soul loss, leading to emotional pain, illness, and even disconnection. Many of their healing methods actually align with modern psychological approaches to trauma therapy, which I thought was really neat. Soul retrieval, which we've gone over, energy cleansing, spiritual releasing, and ancestral healing. And the scientific research on shaman healing, and again, I am not a mental health professional. If you do need help, do not hesitate to reach out. But there have been links in recent studies that show shamanic healings actually can help with a lot of mental disorders. Again, I am not a mental health professional. not a medical professional. Get help if you need it. Please, please, please. But I did want to include that because I thought it was neat. And then the psychological benefit is shamanic healing helps reprocess the trauma, release the trapped emotions, and restore that inner balance, much like modern trauma therapies such as the EMDR, which is the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. There's also the transpersonal psychology and shamanism. Transpersonal psychology is a branch of psychology that actually explores the spirituality, consciousness, and the connection between the mind and soul, which is ideas central to shamanic wisdom. How transpersonal psychology and shamanism overlap is expanded consciousness, where both explore altered states beyond the ego, accessing that higher wisdom. Spiritual healing, recognizing the emotional pain has spiritual roots, much like shamanic healing. Integration of mystical experiences. This is helping people understand and process visions, psychedelic trips, or even near-death experiences. The shadow self. Shamans and transpersonal psychologists both work with repressed or hidden aspects of the psyche. This is actually, my husband, my husband is taking a class for his diploma, but he's taking it as like a side class, but he's taking Psychology 101. And this name is very, very, very widely said in my house every time he finishes a lesson. I mean, he is passionate about this. About this. But this is a concept that is actually found in Carl Jung's work. He is a very well-known and well-refound name and person within the psychology part of things. So here's where it gets really cool too. Famous psychologists who actually studied shamanism. Carl Jung, again. His work on archetypes within the collective unconsciousness and active imagination mirrors a lot of these shamanic concepts that he was learning about. You have Stanislav Grof, which has developed a holotropic breath work inspired by shamanic practices. You have Michael Harner, which is a psychologist turned shamanic scholar who founded core shamanism, blending indigenous wisdom with modern psychology. And the psychological benefit of this is by integrating shamanic techniques into therapy, people can experience deeper healing, spiritual awakening, and self-discovery. I know it's not entirely on the subject, but I thought it was really, really cool to include that little bit, because you wouldn't think about, things like that. So I wanted to kind of give you guys something different. Interesting that these go hand in hand. Maybe I can interest my son in shamanism as he's very into psychology. Do it. Do it. And that's another thing, patience. That's why I said exactly what I said. I was not going to go into the cultural appropriation part or anything like that for this exact reason. There are closed practices that aren't available to me because of my heritage. I'm not going to gatekeep anyone else's path. That being said, if I were to use any tools or whatever for a certain path, I will acquire them from indigenous sellers. And that's what I also mean by respect, which is, again, why I didn't want to go too deep into the cultural appropriation part, because I know that there are people who wouldn't agree with a lot of things, and this group is not for that. The main purpose of Unseen Witches Society is for people to learn, whether it's, what I'm doing, where I'm asking you questions and I'm teaching you about the practice or things like that, or it's doing spells. that is what I love about this group. There is no gatekeeping. There is no, you're doing it wrong. There is no wrong or right way. It is just a collectiveness of information from a lot of amazing women that are badass. Like, seriously, there are a lot of things when I went into this group that I didn't know about that I know now. Like, I could get real mushy and very in-depth on what this group is, but I love that nobody gatekeeps here. I love that everyone is respectful of each other's practices, even if they don't agree with a lot of things. We have had issues in the past, however, with people not agreeing and kind of backhand comments, if you will. But for the most part, all of you ladies are absolutely amazing for, being respectful. Alright, getting back into it. So the final thoughts on the bridge between shamanism and psychology. Shamanism and psychology may seem worlds apart, which is why I wanted to include this. But they both seek to heal the mind, body, and soul. As science continues to explore the consciousness and trauma healing, shamanic wisdom is providing an invaluable tool for a mental well-being. Then you have the ethical considerations and challenges in shamanism, which we're going to, again, kind of briefly go through. So there's respect for tradition, like you were saying, Patience. Respect for tradition and cultural integrity. Shamanism is, again, deeply rooted in a variety of different cultures, not just indigenous. But here in the States, it is very deeply rooted in indigenous wisdom and is often passed down through oral traditions, ceremonies, and apprenticeship. However, modern interest in shamanism has led to a couple of problems, especially if it's original cultural or spiritual significance, which again, we're going to skip over. But if you are drawn to shamanism, seek the ethical teachers, respect the path, and acknowledge the cultural roots of the practice. The responsibility of a shaman. In traditional societies, shaman is not just a spiritual healer, but again, is a guardian of sacred knowledge and bridge between the worlds. And with this role comes very great responsibility, as we all have heard throughout our lives. The core responsibilities of a true shaman is to heal with pure intentions. This is, again, for the highest good, and never their knowledge for power, profit, or even deception. The ethical use of power. Shamans have spiritual authority, which must never be abused or manipulated. Maintaining a connection with spirits, a shaman must ensure that they act as a true conduit for healing and not personal gain. Serving the community, again, shamans are not solitary practitioners. A lot of them are not. And the reason why I say a lot of them are not is because there are people like myself who is a solitary practitioner because I don't have a lot of resources available around me, and I do have to travel in order to learn, if that makes sense. Like, I would have to travel to the next state type thing. Shamans are not always solitary practitioners. They are typically rooted in a community service, offering guidance and healing to those who in need. And a solution to this is modern practitioners must commit to the ethical practices just to be on the safe side. And remember, being a shaman is a calling and not a trend. So keep that in mind. Again, healing with integrity. Respect the individual's journey. A shaman does not force or manipulate someone's spiritual path. Avoid false promises. No healer can guarantee miraculous results, unfortunately, but healing is a very deep, personal, and very lengthy process. The responsible use of sacred medicine, and the consent and boundaries. Be cautious of fake shamans. Please do your research and seek practitioners with deep training, integrity, and accountability. I also included challenges facing shamanism today, such as cultural erosion and endangered traditions, which I will go ahead and let you guys read, because I think it should be known. The very real things that are going on within this path, not just, the talk about cultural appropriation, but also, like, for example, the deforestation of land and exploitation, suppression of a lot of spirituality, many indigenous groups have faced, and the loss of oral traditions, unfortunately. Yeah, it's my son. He's eating dinner. So you'll probably hear him coming down the hallway screaming at me, I should say. But again, a solution to this is you could support the indigenous cultures, and things like that. Again, misrepresentation and exploitation within the culture as it's becoming very popular, and a lot of misinterpretation. This one I do want to go over, however, due to the fact of the examples of misinterpretation is kind of sad. And here's why. Because shamanism, when people look at shamans, they see us as people who have, we just like taking psychedelics. We just like, we become a shaman overnight, and, healing is a quick fix. So I don't need to do it in sessions. I don't need to, and it's crazy, because being a shaman is not just about taking psychedelics. Hell, I don't take any at all. Because it's just not something I want to do. But this reduces shamanisms a lot when it comes to people just thinking that they're just in for the drug experience and not the spiritual practice. And again, no one can be a shaman overnight. This requires years of training, trials, and spiritual discipline. And again, shamanic healing is not a quick fix. Healing is always going to be a lifelong journey, and it's not an instant cure. So again, if you want to get into this path, please approach shamanism with respect, patience, and a desire to learn from authentic sources if they are around you. If they are not around you, then I have some books. Also, there's a lot of other things that can go in this. Again, do your research. So the conclusion and the future of shamanism. Despite modern challenges, shamanism remains a vital force of healing, wisdom, and spiritual evolution. The future of shamanism lies in honoring the traditional wisdom and learning from sources, and ensuring that voices are heard. Integrating shamanic practices in a very respectful way, using the techniques for self-healing and connection to nature. Legal and ethical reform. Again, this is advocating or even avoiding the traditional plant medicine just to be safe. And education and awareness. This is teaching others the true depth of significance of shamanism. Again, shamanism is not just a practice, it's a way of life that teaches us to honor nature spirits and the wisdom of our ancestors. Now, on to the books. Books can provide a very powerful insight to serve as an introduction to the history, philosophy, and practices of shamanism. Below, on my notes, are some classic and contemporary works that offer a comprehensive exploration of this ancient spiritual practice. I have these on my Audible Kindle apps. The first one is The Way of the Shaman. Again, here's the the psychology part. The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner. The overview of this is this book is often considered a foundational text in the study of shamanism, especially core shamanism, which Harner developed in his own way. It includes shamanic journeying techniques, including drumming and visualization. The key insights for this book is core shamanism, which is a universal approach to shamanism that combines various methods and traditions. And why I think it's important is Harner's book actually offers accessible techniques for beginners, and it even provides a solid foundation on shamanic journeying. Then you have the teachings of Don Juan, which is a Yaqui way of knowledge by Carlos Castienda. The overview of Castienda's work is famous for exploring the relationship between shamanism and altered states of consciousness. This book focuses on his apprenticeship with the Yaqui shaman named Don Juan. The key insights are psychedelic plants, which insights on how substances like the mushrooms, the peyote, and other entheogens were used in spiritual awakening. The Sorcerer's Path describe Castienda's spiritual awakening through indigenous teachings and his struggles with the ego. Reality and Perception, which is the transformation of consciousness and the nature of reality from a shamanic point of view. Why I think it's important for Don Juan's teachings is it reveals the transformational power of the shamanic plants and provides an in-depth look at consciousness and spiritual growth from a shaman's point of view. Then you have the Shamanism Archaic Techniques of Ecstasy, oh my gosh, by Mircea Eliade, Mircea Eliade. The overview of this one is a classic academic work, in my opinion. It provides a historical and anthropological examination, of shamanism across the cultures. This is where I got a lot of my information from. Key insights are the shamanic origins. This traces the roots of shamanism in prehistoric times and its role in primitive cultures. Techniques of ecstasy, which focuses on rituals, practices, and the altered states achieved by shamans. Sacred and profound Sacred and Profane explores the sacred spaces and the relationship between the shaman and the spiritual realm. And why I think this one is important is it is essential for understanding the shaman's role in human history and its spiritual significance. Which again, this book right here is where I got a lot of my information. Teachers and mentors of shamanic practices. Again, to dive deeper into the shamanic practices, you can always find your own authentic teachers who honor the lineages of cultural context to their practices. But if you do not have any around you, here are some noble teachers and communities that offer guidance and mentorships within the shamanic arts. Again, you have Michael Harner, The Foundation of Shamanic Studies. What to expect when you are learning from him are workshops on core shamanism. This is he teaches you drumming, journeying, and connecting with the spirit world. Certified training. This offers a shamanic apprenticeship for those wishing to deepen the practice. Why I think it's great, because I did a little bit of my research. Harner's foundation emphasizes universal practices that are applicable across any culture, making it accessible to anyone interested in shamanic work. This is actually kind of where I started my shaman journey, so there's that. Yes, always please research and be respectful when approaching them as well. Then you have Sandra Ingerman. She is a leading shamanic teacher and healer. Sandra Ingerman has written very, very many books and offered numerous workshops on shamanic healing and journeying. What to expect when you are looking at her work is shamanic healing. You are learning techniques for soul retrieval, extraction, and healing trauma. Workshops also focus on deepening your relationship with the spirit world and using shamanic tools in daily life. and why I think it's great, is Sandra is well known for her compassionate approach to shamanism and interfaith healing. Always, you can go to indigenous shamans and healers. This is where you are engaging with elders and shamans from indigenous cultures, such as the Amazonian, the Siberian, or even the Native American traditions, and one of the most authentic ways to learn, in my opinion, at least. What to expect? Traditional teachings such as ceremonial rituals, plant medicine work, and spirit communication. Immersion in nature. Many indigenous shamans invite students to work with nature directly, offering hands-on experiences in sacred landscapes. And why I think this one is great is you are directly learning from the custodians of the traditions and ensures deep, authentic spiritual growth. Safe ways to explore shamanism. If you are interested in engaging in these practices, it is essential to ensure ethical and safe participation. Some ways that you can engage with shamanism safely while respecting cultural traditions is, again, research. What to look for is respectful facilitators. Ensure facilitators are trained, respectful of the culture, and transparent about their practices. Commit to local communities. You could choose retreats that are indigenous if you wish, and reinvest the cultural preservation. Safety protocols that I suggest you do is look for reputable centers that prioritize safety. And the main reason why I say that is because of the psychedelics in the plant medicine. Well-being and psychological support during these ceremonies, because sometimes it can be very taxing. So, just be careful. If you are not in the States, you can look for retreats like these in Peru that focus on the ayahuasca under the guidance of traditional shamans if you are in Peru or near Peru. To begin your shamanic journeying, I highly suggest you start with simple practices. Just take it slow. Start by reading or even drumming. Use a drum or shamanic drumming recordings to enter an altered state of consciousness and experience journeys to the spirit world. You do not need psychedelics. But the reason why I did include that part is because they are so widely known and so widely used in a lot of cultures. Meditation and visualization, community circles where you can join a shamanic circle and journeying groups to share experiences and learn from others. Why it's great. Shamanic journeying is a gentle, accessible way to begin exploring shamanic practices in the safety of your own home as well. Alright, loves. I have a couple of other things that, like a couple more foundational and cross-cultural shamanism books and things like that in my notes. But other than that, again, shamanism is an ancient practice, ladies, that offers profound spiritual wisdom, healing, and insights into the human consciousness. Whether you're drawn to it for personal growth, healing, or a deeper connection with nature, it is crucial to approach it with respect, integrity, and a desire to understand its cultural and spiritual roots. By engaging in authentic training, ethical practices, and supporting indigenous communities if you're here in the States, you, again, can contribute to the preservation of these sacred traditions and the relevance in the modern world. I'm going to go ahead and hop off because it is 9:33 my time, and I've had you guys here long enough. I'm also glad there's not a part 3. But I don't see any questions. Again, if you have any questions, ladies, about this practice or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am an open book when it comes to anything that I have taught. So, I hope this, gives you guys a insight into one of the practices that I thoroughly enjoy, especially because you can mix it with Druidism. You can mix it with brujeria. Brujeria has a lot of shamanic traditions mixed into that path as well. But I'm so glad you guys, you know, allowed me to teach you something like this so late. And I highly apologize for anybody who is, you know, 10, 11 o'clock. I did not mean to keep you guys awake. But I'm gonna go ahead and hop off and go see what my little ones are doing, because it sounds like chaos out there. But I hope you guys have a blessed night. Blessed be, ladies.